If one thing is certain on the Tour de France, it is that the organisers make Bastille Day very special indeed. A huge public holiday, the crowds were out in force, and of course, naturally enough, they were hoping for a French winner, or maybe even a French team. Well, it could be a GC battle, that was the big question. How would the day pan out? It's been such a dramatic race so far, surely today couldn't hype that up even further. Our expectations were high.
Remco Evenepoel just doing the last interviews. He's the last man to be interviewed today, but I tell you what, the sense here in the paddock is of nervousness, focus. Everybody is expecting today to be a battle. Matteo Jorgensen said to me, today is going to be a wattage festival. Everybody is expecting the most important thing to be is on the front foot. They're expecting Visma Bike to maybe go early. UE is saying they're going to be a little bit on the defensive, but they're going to have to adapt their strategy because of the loss of João Almeida. And all that means is that today it's going to be chaos. There's a slim opportunity for the break today, but I think this could be one of the most exciting and thrilling days in this Tour de France so far. It's all in ahead of the rest day.
A big what's day then? What's the strategy of UE Team Emirates? Likewise, what's Visma Bike going to do? What's a breakaway going to do? How would it pan out? One look at the parcours told you everything you needed to know. Absolutely crammed full of climbs. This was bound to hurt. 4,500 metres of altitude gain. No climb higher than a category 2. A lot of points up for grabs out there for the polka dot jersey competition, but also a battle royale, whether it be from a break or amongst the GC, or maybe both. Just look at it. A broken chainsaw waiting to do damage. Christian Prudhomme flagged us away, and indeed it was a very rough and tough, tumbling start, you might say, just to get yourself up and in the breakaway. Didn't take that long for some ambitions to be displayed, but it took a while before we finally got our incarnation of the day. Those up the road were going to be in a very, very select group, you might think. Well, there's 29 of them. That is an enormous quadrant, if you will, of fighting force coming from all angles. And what of Tadej Pogačar? Well, he knew that he was going to come under pressure from Visma Bike. It was a question of how and when. Bad news for him. Sivakov was in trouble, looking not very well, stacked up with bottles just to get home and make the time gap. Making the mountains points was Lenny Martinez, who found himself in the break. He was in very good company. Ben O'Connor, of course, was there. The man who's lost time in the opening week of this race, but is such high quality, you knew that there would be a day where he would feature, and this was to be just that. Well, the breakaway of 29 started to whittle down to some of the day's favourites, I think, for a stage win. Meanwhile, the peloton itself was starting to fracture, and some very good riders were being tagged off the back. Meanwhile, Lenny Martinez was helping himself to mountains points, and indeed slotted into the jersey. It would belong to him at the end of the day. Well, the gaps were there to see. Alaphilippe, who'd been lively early on, was backing out with a group formerly of the breakaway that were now in no man's land between a peloton and an ever more select group up front. UE Team Emirates were doing their best to pace. Martinez was still polka dot hungry. Ben Healy on his wheel, checking over the shoulder and wondering, and we were wondering, when he might have a dig. Well, it was about now, similar distance from the day he'd won. Healy, of course, had won into Virey. How would he go today? Well, with some very strong riders around him, they kind of lent on him more than just a little bit. O'Connor was there, Healy likewise, and a few others as well, still scrapping for mountains points, but we were starting now to think about the possibility of Healy going into yellow. I know. Just shy of the 4 minutes mark he was at the beginning of the day. There were others here in an ever more distilled, if you will, effective breakaway, such as Quinn Simmons. He kept kicking, and in the end, I'm afraid he kicked the bike from underneath him, metaphorically you might say. Meanwhile, Visma Bike were trying to put the hurt on Tadej Pogačar. He was just keeping arrow laser locked onto Jonas Vingegaard's wheel. And every time they tried something, it didn't matter who it was, whether it's Mathieu Jurgensen, the American, who of course had seen Simon Yates and Campenaerts, their teammates, up the road as well. A quintet then, a sextet you might say, as they got to this point. Not for long, as Quinn Simmons, I'm afraid, left just 5 up ahead of him as they pushed on. 10.8 kilometres to go, and suddenly there was a battle raging further down the mountains. Tadej Pogačar was under pressure, but he was matching absolutely everything. Still looked fresh, even though he'd fried all of his teammates during the day. The gap still said Healy might make it, but would there be a spark of energy from those behind? Of course, it was Visma Lease bike that kicked on. Pogačar slotted in, Vingegaard stayed with him. Meanwhile, up front, Visma had implanted Simon Yates and Campenaerts in the break, and now it was time for Yates to have a go. Healy starting to struggle. He'd put so much into the day, he'd kind of cleared his mind as to who was around him. He wanted yellow, Yates wanted a stage victory, O'Connor was going backwards at this point, and the nearest man to Simon Yates was Timo Arensman. Further back down behind was of course Tadej Pogačar and Jonas Vingegaard. We were waiting to see their battle start to rage. Yates crossed the line to take the stage win. Genius! The Giro D'Italia champion, adding a Tour de France stage win to so much that he's achieved in his life. Arensman crossing the line in second place, and then Ben Healy, and the clock began to count. 31 seconds, of course, with a bonus of 4 going to his name, and Tadej Pogačar set off. Joining him, of course, was Jonas Vingegaard. Healy was waiting, and then suddenly he realised as the clock told him he was in yellow. Pogačar crossed the line. Vingegaard said well done, and we indeed appreciated what had been a super dramatic day on what has already been one of the most exciting Tours de France we have witnessed. Yates and Healy, the winners on the day. Healy in yellow. Yates, of course, our stage winner. What a day it turned out to be. The breakaway got there.
Yeah, it's been a long time. But actually I also was not really expecting any opportunities here. Of course, we came here fully focused on Jonas and the GC. So the stage played out in a way that I could be there for the stage. And I took it with both hands.
He certainly did. Brilliant work by the Giro D'Italia champion. Healy, though, is in yellow.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's a fairy tale, you know. I mean, like I just said, if you told me this before the tour, I think I wouldn't have believed you, you know. So, stage win and yellow jersey, it's just incredible and beyond belief, really.
He just keeps doing it. This is the climbing competition. Lely Martinez, 27 points. He started the day with 2, so he's in polka dots, helping France celebrate. Bastille Day, truly remarkable, heading into the rest day after a huge 10-stage introduction to this year's event. What lies ahead? A sprinter's day into Toulouse, but some lumpy stuff at the end, so you can never discount a breakaway. The autocam still to come, time trials, and of course, ultimately, the high ground. This has been an amazing Tour de France. We take a day off, regather ourselves, and then we fight again. Wow.